Bore da pawb, croeso I Gopa Cymru lan ar yr Wyddfa. Welcome, good morning on the top of Wales' largest summit, the Wyddfa, and we have found Rhian Wilkinson. She did hike up, but thanks everyone for coming on the train. So just a bit of housekeeping first before we start. So the press conference will limit to 5 questions each, if that's okay, just to give everyone an opportunity. If you just put your hand up. If you want to ask a question, you've got Rihanna and Melissa around just to help with the microphones. The cafe will be reopening at 10 o'clock. You're welcome to stay and work here till the train departs at 12:30, but we just ask that all equipment is ready and done to board from 12 o'clock onwards. And between 10 and 12 o'clock then we start doing all the one-to-ones. We're aware of your live interview slots as well, so we'll prioritise those and work around the broadcast one-to-ones and written press around those. So as you're aware, we've announced the squad now for the Euro finals. Wales' first ever appearance in a women's major tournament. So who wants to go first for the questions? Happy to go, Geraint?
I think your smile on your face says it all. I think first question, how are you feeling now that you've been able to announce the 23 players? You've been very honest over the last few weeks saying, I know 20 of them, I know 22, but you've now got your 23, and also Sophie Engel is there. You alluded to it, but she's there.
Yeah, we needed to make sure that Sophie was in a good place, that she's obviously still on her path to full fitness, but she's in a position now where she can contribute, and that was important for us. And just a really great mix on this squad, which I think is exciting for me, equally for the Welsh public, a wonderful representation of the country.
Just in terms of Sophie, what part do you hope she will be able to play?
I don't want to get into that specifically, because I do think Sophie's pushing. She's looking really good in training. She made me look foolish yesterday. I should never jump in training anymore. It's not good for my ego. But she has to be able to contribute in some way, and I think that was the prerequisite I had. And when she was able to meet that, she was obviously straight into the squad.
What challenge? How difficult was it to get those 23 names? I know along the way you've had your names, but sleepless nights?
Always, and I hope I've been really clear. There's names that aren't on this list who've given everything for their country, and those phone calls where I had to break their heart were and are always going to be the worst part of my job. So there's always going to be sleepless nights, and it always should be sleepless nights. These are people's careers and very good people and great players who just didn't make the cut. But equally, with my staff, we've worked really hard to make sure that the names that are there for the right reasons, and because they're healthy and ready to represent their country.
When I got the list, I checked, I double-checked, and I triple-checked to make sure, I think probably which every Welsh supporter and a lot of just fans of football was to make sure her name was there. Jess Fishlock, the crowning moment of a glittering career. How important, now that she is going, how important is this moment for her and for Wales?
Jess is going to be the face and the name of Wales. We know that. She knows that. But equally, I think there's this group of senior players, this Kayleigh Barton, Sophie Engel, this group that has come through the whole system of the women's Welsh national team. They've seen it all. They've been through it all. They've fought the fights, and to have been able to get the team over the line at what is maybe the ends of their career, I think it's one of those things as a coach you're just really proud to be a part of, to be able to help deliver that for them.
And last one from me. What do you want to achieve? What's the aim? Netherlands, France, England to begin with.
To begin with, love it. I think there's something about this mentality of the why not, which I've spoken about and I really believe in. I think outside of Wales, people can think whatever they want. You can look at rankings and think whatever you want. Our goal is to show up and be really present and to deliver to the best of our ability. And I've said from the beginning that when you deliver consistent performances, results follow. So we won't chase results, but we will chase consistency. And we've seen in League A that when we're able to deliver to our standards, we can keep ourselves right in the game with the top nations.
Okay, and Chris from BBC Wales.
Rhian, firstly, how was the walk?
It was good. I left a bit early. I was nervous, but it was nice to just be on my own and sort of prepare myself for maybe this amazing moment here. But I'm really glad I walked.
You touched upon having to inform some players they hadn't made your selection. In terms of the players that you have included, when did you tell them? How did you tell them? And how did it make you feel that you know that you're helping some of these players realise a lifelong ambition?
Well, I wasn't able to tell them as I would have liked, which would have been on one day calling all 23. And I think that that is probably a reality for a lot of coaches going to major tournaments. When you have an injury, you've got to postpone and delay. But what I've tried to do is make sure that when I was sure about players, they knew as soon as I could tell them. But I couldn't tell them too early because then players who hadn't been. So it was a bit of a balance, but equally those that haven't made the cut, they've been ongoing conversations for a while where I've tried to make sure where they knew where they stood as we've gone through the campaign, so that it wasn't too much of a shock, but it's never easy. And I've tried to do it the best I can, and I'm sure that as a coach I'll continue to learn because it's one of those impossible things. Like I'm not sure how to get it right, but you just do the best you can, I think.
A lot of players have been in camp or training sessions with yourself. You've got a Portugal camp coming on. How are the preparations? How are you able to keep a sort of a lid on the excitement, I guess?
Yeah, so we put on 3-day mini camps last week and this week because obviously the UK-based players are on break, so they really have been out of football. So we've got them on training plans, but equally just getting on the ball, and it was voluntary. But we had 22 players at our voluntary mini camps, and that's again a testament to these women and how committed they are. Sorry, there's a military aircraft going by. Just that they're ready. They want to be as prepared as possible. They've done the hard work. They've done the training, and now it's just around the corner. And I think that it is an excitement because there's this unknown, but equally this is what we've been waiting for. So we got to make sure we enjoy the journey. And I do think sometimes the stress can make it feel heavy. And my goal will be that at no point in this tournament do we allow it to feel like a burden, because it's only a privilege.
What's the biggest challenge? Qualifying? Climbing this mountain? Or what faces you in Switzerland?
Well, qualifying was the biggest challenge, and that's not to diminish from the importance of the tournament, but I do think these women have gotten close so many times before, and there's a baggage that comes with that, and almost this block. I've spoken again openly that a few players use the term sort of cursed, and you do feel like when you've gotten close so many times that maybe it's not for you. So just getting the team past that point, again with incredible support from my staff was critical, I think. And now these younger players that have just come onto the team will never know anything but that this team qualifies for major tournaments, which is a pretty powerful thing that these senior players are now able to deliver.
You've named 23 players, as we say. Many people will know perhaps one or two household names. This is an opportunity, isn't it, for some others in that 23 to really make names for themselves this summer?
Absolutely, and we've said that. They're a big part of the League A campaign. I was without Jess Fishlock and Sophie Engel, and I think not long ago you'd look at that and you think, oh gosh, it's going to be a struggle. It's only given other players chances to step up and deliver, and we've seen that across the board. Every player we've put on the field has done more than enough. I've never been let down by a young player. They're just there to give everything they have, and that's the exciting part of this, that we do have the senior, more experienced leadership, but equally we have young players who are just excited to be given an opportunity to show what they can do. And that's what this tournament will be about. Someone will surprise me, surprise us, and we'll take that moment. And that's always exciting because you don't know who it is, because it could be so many of them.
And finally, you've obviously had to make some selection calls. Some were made for you, unfortunately. We knew about some injuries. It's the first chance we've had to speak to you about Maisie and her ACL. A word for her.
Yeah, I was texting with her yesterday. I think she's that young that maybe she didn't fully understand the whole impact of the injury. You know, it's a bad injury. I think when all of us saw it, you know, there's telltale signs of an ACL, and it was hard. And she was so brave with it. She stayed with the team. A lot of players just want to leave and get out of the environment. She stayed with us. I think it was just that sort of comfort of the team around her. Obviously, so many of these players on this team have been through that injury. And for her now, it's getting the surgery and then starting that road to recovery, and us making sure that she always remembers that she is a part of this group, and that many, many players who haven't made this team, they're all a part of this journey. And it's always sad because they won't get the recognition the others will, but we're here because of the work of a lot of players that are not in the 23.
Thanks, Rhian. Best of luck on the way down.
Sean Misra, Club Pils-Right.
Hi, Rhian. Just how have you found this process personally? Because you said in Swansea during the last squad announcement, this is going to be the hardest part of your job. So just how have you found the last couple of weeks, days in the build-up to this decision?
I mean, it's been ongoing, right? We've been waiting for injuries and recovery times, and things change quickly, right? Maisie got injured in Swansea. This is not a long time afterwards now. It's been heavy. It felt a bit heavy. I think we all know when you've got those big decisions looming and you know that you're going to hurt someone or people, it's not a nice part. And I've always spoken about it pretty openly, because to be a football manager is the dream job. I know how lucky I am, but that is the worst part. And these women, it is their dream. It's legitimately their dream to represent their country in the biggest stage. And it's only one opinion, and it happens to be mine, and I make the choice. And it's how do you make sure that they don't lose their own confidence in this? It's one moment in a career, and it could go on to push them to really big things in the future.
Do you have a standby list? And if so, who is on that list?
I do. No. And we will bring 3 training players with us as well to Switzerland. I'm not ready to announce those players either, but again, there's a group of players that stand behind this team and that have been hurt and are still willing to be on standby and to keep themselves ready and fit to be called at any moment. And we have used that standby list in the last few camps, so I'm very lucky.
Well, fine one for me. We know that each player has their own story and journey to get to this point, but it's going to be Angharad that's going to be captaining you for this historic tournament. Just how delighted are you that she's going to be leading this squad? She's been
fantastic. And I did make it hard at the beginning. I think every one of you was probably asking me questions about who the captain was going to be, and I wanted to take time with it. Angharad was one of the obvious choices, but equally I didn't know her and she didn't know me, and it has to be you have to have a good relationship with your captain. Equally, she needs to be able to challenge me and vice versa. So we had to get to know each other, and since naming her as captain, Kerry Holland and Hayley Ladd as vice captains, I think they've really stepped up in terms of their leadership, and we've gone towards that together. I think we're all learning what it means to be a leader for Wales. But also how they've played on the field. When things are tough, I'll always look to those 3. And they know that these titles come with pressure. They do. The team looks to you, and I think they've handled that remarkably well.
Sean Ed from Scoria.
Hi, Rhian. First question, are you walking back down, or are you coming on the little train with all of us?
I said I was going to walk, but I have an engagement, it turns out, so one of you is getting booted.
We'll make room for you. It's a bit cramped, but we'll make room for you. You've just mentioned that some players could potentially surprise people this summer. Do you think Wales could surprise people out in Switzerland?
Yeah, well, at least one player will. So it's not even a question to me. And we've seen that throughout. Like, we talked about Maisie, we talked about Saf, but we've talked about so many of our players stepping up. Liv has been consistent. Like, we are at the Euros because of some of the plays that Liv's made. And I think that will continue to happen at the Euros. And Wales, any country that is ranked, the rankings, if someone can explain to me how this works with a PhD, I'd appreciate it. Rankings are one measure of a team. And I think what people will realize is that Wales is a sporting nation, but equally the passion and the desire to play for themselves, but their families and their country is unparalleled. And I'm sure that people will be looking up Wales on a map very soon.
I mean, I have to say, I don't think there are many football associations out there that would get the entire media on a tiny little train at 7 a.m. to come up to the highest peak in Wales for a squad announcement. Is it all starting to feel very real now, just 2 weeks out until that first game?
It is and it isn't. I think that's also the story of a major tournament. So we've had our mini camps, so there's like touch points, and it's great. The excitement of the team is fantastic. And then we have this little tiny dip, and then we go and do a pre-camp in Portugal, which will be great because we're away from family, friend. We're away from some of you, respectfully. Like, you know, we're just in our own little bubble. And then when we arrive in Switzerland, I think it'll be like, here we go. And that is what you want it to be. There's no reason right now to get to anything. We should be excited, but equally, we still got a week of fun work in the sun to just make sure that we're as fit, prepared, and ready as we possibly can be.
And just a note on the fans and the support you've had, because I think I'm right in saying is Wales is going to be one of the best supported teams out there in terms of ticket sales and everything. How much are you looking forward to seeing the red wall out in that first game in Lucerne?
Well, a big thank you, and you just touched on it. Wales will continue to surprise me. So what an amazing job the media team has done to put this together. Why wouldn't we on this beautiful? We can't control the weather, but this is an amazing place. But all of you have done that and have come. I can imagine a lot of countries, the media be like, no thanks, or send one. You know, everyone's come out to do this, and that is how the fan base has always been. They show up, and they show up in voice as well. As a Canadian, you know, it's a really cool thing. 'Cause we're sort of very polite and a little clap every now and then, but to hear that Welsh red wall, that voice, the anthem. In those lulls in the game, how everyone's invested in trying to support the team. I mean, this is another thing that Wales has that I have not seen very many other countries claim.
Rhian, diolch yn fawr.
Aina from Newsbeat.
Hello. I just wanted to start with, you talked about those difficult conversations. Obviously, some of the recent call-ups might have hoped they were in with a chance, and some of them will have missed out, like Mara Griffiths. How were those conversations?
I think I'm very lucky that, you know, the players are disappointed. They're very disappointed. They're also professional, and they shouldn't agree with me. And they don't, but they do it professionally. You know, like they understand that it is coach has to pick a team, and someone will always be left out when that happens. And how you handle it, I think, is a real testament to who you are as a player. And all those calls, I've been really blown away by how generous they've been with me, because it is a tough thing for them to hear, of course.
Visualisation is such a big part of modern management in football. Has this mountain been part of that, or can you tell us anything about the sort of special place this is for you and your squad?
Well, first, that's hilarious that you said visualization, because I think I've said this was a special mountain for my family. So my parents had their honeymoon up here, but equally we used to come up here as kids. And then when my father died, we had a little ceremony for him right out here. And he used to make me visualize when I was a kid, and it drove me wild. I hated it. He was an early adopter. So it was hilarious you used that word, because I've just been sitting out there thinking, God, so annoying.
Sorry.
No, I love it. Not the word, but the mountain we've used as a theme, because, you know, it was always going to be an uphill battle. It was always going to be one where we were going to have little setbacks. Like, what is mountaineering but exactly that? The challenge of steeper parts and flattening off, all these sort of parallels that you can make. So we have used this mountain as an image throughout this campaign, and then equally as we've moved towards the Euros, we've started talking more about like this summit part, the Everest part of it, that something is impossible until it isn't, and we're there. And that is an important thing, I think, to be able to do, is to tell the story of it, for them to be able to picture it and maybe to feel it. But more than anything, I think it's just a perfect visual for this team, is this mountain, highest peak in Wales. So I'm glad we've used it since the beginning.
Last one, you have a mix of sort of very experienced players and some that are, you know, maybe haven't been on as many camps with Wales. How are you hoping that dynamic helps you in the tournament?
Well, I loved how, I'm sure they'd be very thankful for how you said very experienced players. Yeah, the older ones have been really, really good with our young ones. And we've said it from the beginning that if our young ones don't feel equally as a part of this journey, we wouldn't qualify. I've been a part of teams that have got that wrong, where we've put in the hard yards, so it's more our tournament than yours, that kind of mentality, and it will destroy a team, because the young ones then are never feeling like it's part of their experience. So huge credit to our more experienced players, who have from the beginning made sure that our young ones have felt pushed, and definitely definitely made to sort of up their game to their level while still allowing them to feel that warmth, that sort of camaraderie, and also the conversations afterwards to help them, to support them in it, not trying to catch them out. So I do think that this is a great mixture of experience and less experience, but equally of the characters of them. Just good people as well. And that has been my privilege as the coach of this team, is I've yet to meet a player who hasn't met that criteria.
Lawrence from TalkSport.
Rhian, listen, you've got about 4 or 5 players, I think, in the squad that are going to be unattached this summer. Is that an issue? Is that something you're going to have to be dealing with while you're away on camp? And sort of on a wider scale, what does that say about where sort of women's football is at the moment in the UK?
Yeah, I find it really frustrating, and I hope I've been open about it. I do think Welsh players it's frustrating to me sometimes when I watch. Anyway, it's not right, and I think for these players, it would be unfair of me to say that it's not going to be on their minds. Now, what it can't make me do is feel like I have to play somewhere like that. We all know that, but we have great support for them. And we bring support for them. We make sure that they're able to talk about it, that it's not ignored, because I understand that's a burden. But it's not ideal, I would say.
That's it. Any more questions for the presser? Harad?
Hi. Yourself, the team, the FAW behind the scenes, everyone's worked incredibly, incredibly hard to get to the Euros. Sort of how proud are you of the legacy that you're building as a team going into the Euros, and what impact do you reckon that'll have on women's football in Wales moving forward?
Well, we'll see, but I think I've seen Beth and Willie here and the work that's being done by the FAW and by the staff to promote the game, but equally to get out into communities to make sure the facilities across Wales are being updated, to make sure that our young girls are feeling as wanted in those clubhouses as the young boys. All those little things are huge things. And I know that this tournament can be a catalyst for major change because it's already started. The qualification of this team, that journey began well before I arrived. And the growth of the game has not been exponential. It's been leaping forward. And I'm excited for the future where I easily predict that every young girl and young boy in Wales will be picking football as sort of a starter sport at 5, and then I'm just excited for those opportunities then that will come after that, because all of a sudden we've got a huge base of players that are being kept fit and healthy from a young age.
And there'll be a lot of eyes on Wales going into this competition. What's your message to the players so they don't feel that pressure and that they can just enjoy their time at the competition?
Well, they'll feel pressure and they'll be nervous, and that's normal. And I think we just talk about it. I have also said I've got a great performance coach with me, Kate Green, and I chose her because she's very good at speaking to the players as individuals. They all have their own anxieties around it. But there's something very powerful about this opportunity, and there's really nothing to fear. There really isn't. I think when you're using language like "what if," I think you can only be excited about it, and it means move forward. Like, what if we just give it everything we have, and we're going to have some luck sometimes, and that's normal in football. Every winner of any tournament has had luck at some point. But I think that's the mentality we'll continue to talk about as a team, because I think it's pretty powerful. I think they're ready. I think they're nervous, but not in an overwhelming way, in more of an excited way. We'll keep working on that through Portugal.
Diolch, pob luck.
Diolch Mawr. Pete in the back for Channel 5.
Hi, you've said yourself that part of your job is to make dreams come true, which sounds to me like you have the best job in Wales at the moment. But now that this is happening, how are you dealing with the pressure and the responsibility?
You probably need to ask me. Have a look at what I look like after the tournament, like haggard. I think I'm very fortunate in that I love my job and I do have the best job in Wales. But I equally am aware that I'm a football coach. I think, athletes get to inspire, and that's something pretty special in the world. But equally, I try and always keep a pretty balanced view of my job. Like, we all want to win. you know. But in the end, the worst case is that we lose, and I'm still going to give it everything I have. Worst case for me is that I lose my job and I'm fired, and I'll never regret not giving everything I have. And the same for the players. Like, we just got to be realistic about what it is we do and the opportunities of what we could achieve if we just give it everything we have, and then everything else is just what happens. So I hope I don't get too overwhelmed by it, because the journey's for me as well. These are these moments that you remember for the rest of your life, and I'd rather not remember it feeling like I was strained and not able to be really present in all the moments.
And how long did it take you to walk up here today, and what was your headspace? Were you meditating as you made your way up?
I was listening to political podcasts that would get me pretty angry, so I got up here pretty quick. So yeah, I stormed up. We walked it. When did we walk it?
A month ago.
It was a month. Oh, I told someone 2 weeks. But a month ago we walked in and we had all the equipment with us, and it took us 4 hours or something. But because we had all this equipment, but it was harder to go slowly, you know, like we were all, so I was able to get up pretty quick, which was nice today. No extra cameras, and just being with myself, like I said before all this, I think was probably the right move.
But I'm not focusing too much on your timings. I'm just interested to know, for my script, how long did it take you to get up here today?
Oh, okay. I just under an hour and a half.
Nice work.
Yeah.
Who's going to beat that time down? Any more questions? No problem. Just before we finish, we're just going to say from the FA, a massive deal to the Snowdon Mountain Railway team and Parc Eryri for being so accommodating for us. I think it's been, you know, sort of a real challenge, but everything's gone so smoothly so far, so diolch yn fawr to you. We're going to set up for the one-to-ones just outside. We prioritise the live timings, and we work any pre-records and written press around. Written press, we just form a huddle somewhere in the cafe. The cafe and the shop are open to the public at 10 o'clock. So if you can just make sure you tidy everything up for then, and any fridge magnets or t-shirts, feel free to buy them. So diolch yn fawr pawb, and see you soon.